Hello, I'm Mantastic and Fantastic, and today I'm going to be reviewing the new Heroine cards of Uruka, Julie, and now the Fluffier Ilmina. So, before I begin, I want to actually give you all a little excitement now, because in my last YouTube video I actually did an unboxing for a brand new microphone, and I've got it all set up, it's all plugged in, and we are now going to turn it on and enjoy my voice in more HD quality. So we're switching over in 3, 2, 1. Hello, I am Mantastic and Fantastic, and today you can now hear me in more HD as well as reviewing all the Heroine cards that are coming out that are at least brand new. So, a little bit of a background for the Heroine Rare machine. It is a 10-stone exclusive machine that features cards that you cannot acquire anywhere else. So if this is your very first time ever seeing the Heroine Rare machine, or you didn't pull very heavily, this is actually still a very good time to pull because all of the cards have value for the most part. If we discredit Mel, everything is actually useful because they have interesting active skills, they have interesting awakenings, and a lot of them actually have powerful leader skills. So there is tremendous value in at least rolling in the Heroine Rare machine, and they all have gained new evolutions that at least provide more stats and possibly one or two more awakenings, so they do have more value. But certain cards like Ilmina gained a split evolution, which dramatically changes their usability, and the two new cards that just came out are actually tremendously powerful. So in this video, I'm going to be reviewing at least the major changes that occurred, and just presuming that the rest of the cards you may have read my previous review, because nothing has really changed as it was just minor stat boosts or awakenings. So, new/notable cards. So first off, we gain Fluffier Ilmina, and Fluffier Ilmina has a dramatic change in their awakening setup. They now have 3 Dark Resist Latents, which is 15% damage reductions, 7 combo awakenings, as well as the 2 time extends, 2 skill boosts. If we compare it to the other Ilmina, it has 4 skill boosts, time extends, and killers. So this Ilmina, her main goal is both having a gigantic amount of base health as well as having a much stronger leader skill, because her leader skill, while on her own, will produce 4.5 times attack and 25% damage reduction along with a 7x6 board. So this is a higher multiplier with a damage reduction component. So she still obviously has her natural pairings of Ilm, Kenshin, Tsubaki, and Minerva, but now they're all just stronger because your damage output's higher, and that damage reduction is huge because let's say you pair with Ilm. Now both leaders are on color, you have the recovery component from Ilm, which is more than enough, as well as having damage mitigation. So now you can survive those large preemptives, and it makes challenging content at least a bit easier to manage. Furthermore, that 7 combo awakening does at least help you capitalize fully on the 7x6 board. And the fact that there are no killer awakenings now means you actually have a better sense of damage control, because you're not going to be hitting for tremendously silly amounts against certain types of monsters. So for the most part, like, this is an upgrade if you want to have a stronger traditional leader, and if you want to have a specialized farming sub, you want to stick with the original Fire Light Ilmina because it has those killer awakenings. Even though their leader skills less, it depends where you want to use them. So basically, Ilmina was the only 7-star roll from the Heroine Rare machine, and they're very desirable because not only are they very fluffy, but they also have great viability in 2 distinct roles, because now you can customize her any way you please. So to basically reiterate, the new evolution that's yellow-red basically allows her to become a much stronger leader, whereas the other form is a tremendously powerful farming tool because you can stick her on a team, you have 4 skill boosts, you have killers, and both of these also share the true damage as well as bi-color board change. So you're able to execute, say, pre-draws or pies or anything that has high defense while having a kill board on the next floor. So this is great in rogue descents, this is useful in arena, it's just powerful overall. So this is partially why Ilmina is so highly ranked, because she does have flexibility now, and you can use either form to great potential. Next is Uruka, and I'm probably saying this wrong like I normally do, but she actually is a tremendously powerful card as a leader, as a sub, and as an inherit, because she has a 7 combo awakening, she's bind immune, she has useful awakenings, but
Her active skill is a Dark Kali style board plus Fujin, all rolled into one for 24 turns cooldown. Her leader skill allows her to have 6 times attack, 25% damage reduction while matching 5 of the 6 rainbow elements, basically everything but light, as well as a 7x6 board. So this means, like, there's several different components I want to look at. Like, first is the active skill. You have the rainbow board changer, you have Fujin. So that means she's basically designed for countering challenging spawns in, say, Arena 3. You can use her as an upgrade to Dark Kali actives for skill delay protection, or you could probably just better put her on Isis, because Isis is water. You will transfer all these basically 979 weighted stats to Isis in, like, as a percentage, while having a board change and a guaranteed counter to Fujin, as well as Hera Dragon. So this is tremendously powerful, and I feel that Raw Dragon teams who want to play through Arena 3 quickly will be utilizing Uruka's Inherit if you are fortunate enough to pull her, because you can now trivialize those spawns while having stat transfer, and you don't have to use Fujin, because even if you don't encounter Hera Dragon or Vishnu, you are able to still use the active skill and have an activatable board. So it's a great safety net overall for those rainbow style teams. However, they actually have an amazing leadership potential as well, because you are obviously able to pair with Raw Dragon, but you can also pair her with other orb hungry or orb demanding leaders like Rei Miru, as well as the male Kali, all from the Evangelion collab. So that basically makes those leaders more powerful, and she can even just be used as a leader with any other rainbow lead you want if you want that 7x6 board, because with 42 orbs you're much more likely to hit those 7+ combos to trigger 7 combo awakening, as well as really not necessarily running out of orbs, because when you basically clear most of the board, you should almost always have those orbs falling back down. However, she's obviously not without limitations, because her active skill is a 24 turn cooldown, so that's obviously very long, as well as being a 7-star base card, so she's obviously going to be very rare and hard to pull. She also does have a split evolution, which makes her dark with double TPA, which does have merits on a Dark Athena team, but for the most part, most people probably will keep her in her water form just because it's just stronger as an inherit as well as a leader overall. But to be fair, this is a very exciting card, and for those who don't have Fujin, this is a great alternative for Fujin. Next is Julie, and Julie looks almost underwhelming on paper, but she's actually quite potent. She does have God, Dragon, and Attacker killers, which is actually quite exciting, and she actually has the same active skill as Balboa. She has Void enemy defense for 1 turn, as well as 50% damage reduction for 1 turn, all on an 11-turn cooldown. So basically, this allows you to survive large hits or easily execute high defense cards, such as pre-draws. Basically, those 10 million defense becomes 0, and anything you match will instantly ping them off and kill them. However, her leader skill is actually quite interesting, because she does provide 1.5 times health and attack for water and wood cards, as well as 5 times attack and 25% damage reduction when matching water and wood orbs. So overall, this translates into 2.25 times health, 56.25 times attack, and 43.75% damage reduction. So this is actually quite powerful, because you have easy activation, you have 3 killers, so you're going to be absolutely destroying certain floors. You have Innate Tankiness, because you have the health multiplier, but you have that damage reduction component. So that means you can survive gravity-based attacks with relative ease. And she's one of the best water leaders around, because she can also finally make use of all those water TPA cards, because water TPA cards did not have a home that they could be easily used on, just because all the strong water leaders are row-based. And now Julie comes along, and now we can finally use those TPA cards and put them to great use. And because of that, you're also able to overcome combo shields. That's another innate benefit, because a lot of harder content is starting to push out 7+ combo shields. Unfortunately, she's obviously not without limitations. She does have a low value active skill as a leader. Balboa's active is actually very powerful, but when both your leaders have a Balboa active, it's actually not that meaningful, because I can't really fathom a situation where you need to have that defense break twice in a row, at least within that short time frame. So it can be problematic carrying those base active skills with reasonably long cooldowns. She is vulnerable to binds, and those killers kind of make damage control almost impossible. If you're fighting Attacker, Dragon, Gods, or even a combination of those at the same time, there's no way you can control your damage. And the last downside is that it's problematic to activate your damage mitigation because you have to deal damage. So basically when stalling, you have to rely on that 2.25 times health, kind of like Dark Athena, and then when you want to finally sweep the floor, you have to basically kill it because you can't activate the damage reduction. So that can cause problems because it's not a recovery component, but at the same time can at least dance around of spawns that do hit very hard. And you also can always load up on cards with very high base recovery. You always use recovery badge in solo mode, so there are workarounds. And I will somewhat liken Julie to a reincarnated Astaroth, because reincarnated Astaroth is a hard-hitting leader with 4 times health but no recovery. So Julie is pretty similar in that she has the damage mitigation with the health multiplier. So there are a bit of differences. Julie is easier to activate. 3 water, 3 wood is enough to trigger your multiplier plus damage mitigation. Throw in that TPA, you're pounding through content. Whereas Astaroth needs those 6 linked wood orbs, so Astaroth is much more orb hungry and slower. Furthermore, Julie should be hitting higher damage just because of the killers and because you have the chance to stack TPA cards as well as many combos. And also the shielding component is important because against gravity-based attacks, say you're dancing with Ilsix, you are able to at least tank that 99% gravity hit. You have that damage mitigation carry over on a sweep, so that means you can tank preemptive. So there are benefits there. So it's great because Julie is high burst, great survivability, and she's going to have tremendous value in, say, dungeons where you don't need to worry about damage control and if too much stalling is not necessary. So she is a powerful leader. Obviously, Balboa's active is powerful, so if you don't have a Balboa, this is a great usage to gain a Balboa's active. So again, basically to reiterate, her main downside is the lack of damage control and no recovery and difficulty in stalling. So new evolutions for old cards. And like I mentioned earlier on, for the most part, the new evolutions are underwhelming. They really just added 1, maybe 2 awakenings, slightly higher base stats, maybe a tweak to the leader skill. And I really just want to cover the more important ones because some of them just really didn't do anything. They just fill the same role they had before. And that's why I would encourage you to read my previous review because these take a very long time. And I'm trying to actually do more physio-based things, so I'm having a bit less time for pads. But in terms of Mary, she is one of my favorite leaders basically of all time. She combines an easy activation, consistency, perfect damage control, and massive burst potential all into one. Furthermore, this new evolution I feel makes her significantly prettier, and in all honesty, that's probably the main reason why we play Puzzle and Dragons, for the pretty girls. Unfortunately, Mary's new evolution did really not do that much. She gained a 6th water row, which means she hits harder, but she already hit incredibly hard. And then they made her leader skill hit even harder if you linked 9 instead of 8 orbs. You still have that scaling component of 6, 7, 8, 9, but now with 9 you deal even more damage. So you hit even harder with your awakenings and you hit even harder with your leader skill. Both of those were the things she did not need. If she gained any form of, say, health multiplier, she would have been incredible, or some sort of bind immunity, unbelievable. But of course we can't have that, but I like to dream regardless. But Mary is very capable of farming Colosseum and Arena 3, but you do have a slight reliance on co-op because, again, she is vulnerable to binds and she has no health multiplier. So that means in solo mode, you have a much tougher time because you have fewer active skills available for actually activation. You have to basically budget someone for bind clearing. You have to budget something for damage mitigation because you can't tank large preemptives. You can't tank probably more than 40,000 hits. Because I believe when I did my solo Mary in Arena 3, I had about 40,000 health only. So it made life quite difficult and a bit of gambling on certain floors. So all of that is why I think Mary's great. However, she has even more value because she is a tremendously powerful farming leader. Because of the no Skyfall clause, you are able to essentially control your damage perfectly, but you also can clear content faster. Normally, if say Lube Dios, you do Dios board swipe, you have to wait for those combos to fall down and match. Mary, none of that happens. It's just swipe, match, gone. Instantly done. So there is merit to Mary in speed farming. And last but not least, for the notable evolution changes is Kuvia, because Kuvia's new evolution does grant her 350 attack along with an extra skill boost. So you may think that doesn't do much, but on Kuvia that is actually huge because she has 4 TPAs. So she now has 1,500 1,516 base attack without any pluses. So she's going to be dealing lethal amounts of damage when you match that fire TPA just because her base attack is now so high. She's going to be probably your hardest hitting fire card on your team because, again, what cards can really compete with 4 TPAs and a reasonably high base attack? So the skill boost is obviously icing on the cake because now your skills come up faster in solo or co-op mode. And other than these two, I didn't really feel like the new evolutions did very much just because they didn't change anything. They gained insignificant amounts of like base stats or like one awakening that they didn't need because some of them are used purely as inherits, so it doesn't change much overall. So in conclusion, the Heroine Rag machine is stronger than it was before just because of the new evolutions. It does make them stronger even if it is a small benefit, as well as having 2 new cards and a reworked Ilmina. However, if you do already own the majority of the cards, it may be a costly venture to try and pursue the new toys because it is 10 stones per pull and the new cards are relatively rare. However, if you are a newer player or you didn't roll heavily the first time around, it has tremendous value to roll right now because, again, those cards are unique. They do things you can't normally do with your monster box, and it provides more depth, especially to those players who have at least a modestly developed box already. It helps you fill in new niche holes, and there are lots of strong leaders in here, so you may get a new powerful leader to use. So let me know what you think about the Heroine Rag machine in the comments below, and if you plan on rolling. I hope you all have a mantastic day, and happy puzzling.